coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. Autumn has officially arrived, and over the past several weeks, temperatures across southwest Saskatchewan have been cooler than normal, with snow greeting the month of October. Distracted driving continues to be a major concern on Saskatchewan roadways, and whether you're using your cell phone or adjusting your music, taking your eyes off the road for a split second has proven to be a leading cause of accidents. And throughout the month of October, police across the province will be on the lookout for distracted drivers. The Art Gallery of Swift Current showcases a number of exhibitions throughout the year, and the latest shines the spotlight on Saskatchewan artist Joe Fafard. The world-renowned artist has created another unique exhibition with Ratai, featuring laser-cut welded metal sculptures. Thanks for joining us here today. Well, as the month of October rolled in, so did the snow here in southwest Saskatchewan. However, Environment Canada says don't give up on autumn just yet. Autumn has officially arrived, and over the past several weeks, temperatures across southwest Saskatchewan have been cooler than normal, with snow greeting the month of October. A weather trend which was due in part to a cold air mass hovering over the prairies.
A big, large, high-pressure area that just stuck there in around Alaska, the Yukon, and it was like a pipeline. It just sort of took this Siberian air and just brought it southward. And I know the ground tried to warm things up and the lakes and the rivers, but we saw a dramatic cool-off. And that was probably one of the more interesting weather features that meteorologists have ever seen. It was just like a huge dome up there, and it just blocked every weather system coming and just gave you more Arctic air and not American air or Pacific air. And so what we saw for you people in southwestern Saskatchewan, a dramatic cool-off. I mean, September didn't begin that way. There were some days where it got up to 28, 27, 26 at the beginning, first week. But really, since the middle of the month, we've seen only, often single-digit highs, which is really, I mean, you have to go to the end of October or the early November to see those.
And in the coming weeks, Environment Canada is calling for a typical autumn forecast, with the prospects of a milder winter.
If you look at October, November, and early December, let's say late fall and early winter, it shows a little bit warmer than normal. So my sense is that you're going to have to weather this kind of coolish weather in October, and when we get into November, December, now it's not going to return to the summer warmth. It's going to be relative compared to those particular months, but you won't see those 14, 15 degrees colder than normal. It might be, in fact, 2 or 3 or 4 degrees warmer than normal. And then we have something called El Nino. This is the warm pool of water in the Pacific. It's growing, and it generally produces a milder than normal winter. And so my sense is, if you're not liking this weather, well, hang your hat on and hope for that El Nino to arrive in a good amount. And we've seen in the past on the prairies, whenever El Nino has been strong and persistent, we've ended up with a milder than normal winter.
The normal daytime high for this time of the year for the Swift Current area is 16 degrees, with an overnight low of 2. Well, how does a $280 fine sound? That's what you'll be faced with if police pull you over for distracted driving. Distracted driving continues to be a major concern on Saskatchewan roadways. And whether you're using your cell phone or adjusting your music, taking your eyes off the road for a split second has proven to be a leading cause of accidents. And throughout the month of October, Police across the province will be on the lookout for distracted drivers.
It's the number one cause of collisions. It's the number one cause of injuries resulting from traffic collisions. And it's also the number two cause of fatalities based on 2016 numbers, which is the most recent year for which we have complete statistics available. In 2016, 42 people died in distracted driving related collisions. Another 1,200 were injured. There were a total of just under 8,300 collisions in 2016 that were attributed to distracted driving.
And if you are caught using your cell phone while driving, be prepared to pay a hefty fine.
It's $280, and there are 4 demerit points under the Safe Driver Recognition Program. Furthermore, if you get caught using your cell phone twice within a year, you're going to have the vehicle you're driving seized for 7 days. You will also be responsible, the owner of that vehicle will be responsible for all the towing and impound costs.
And now with the changing seasons, weather will often play a key role in road conditions, further stressing the importance of staying focused on the roadway, obeying the posted speed limit, and pulling safely over to the side of the road to use your cell phone.
Hi, I'm Victor Sikansky. I'm from Regina. I grew up in the Garlic Flats where we had a lot of gardens, and I became a sculptor, and I show my work at the Slate Gallery. In 1972, I was in an international show in Japan, and I was asked by the Arts Canada magazine back then to write the show up. So, you know, they paid me to fly to Japan to see the show and to meet the people in the National Gallery in Tokyo, and then again in Kyoto, and then write the show up. And while I was there, I got fascinated by Japanese construction. I loved the way they build their buildings. They were so natural somehow, and you know, I enjoyed what they did with their parks and with their plants. And I'd be looking at these little bonsais, and I thought, these things are absolutely wonderful. Some of them 500 years old, but people are still looking after them. And at one point I figured I'd buy one and take it home, until I realized and talked to people about it, what kind of care you'd need to give this little bonsai. And I figured, you know what, thanks, but I'm not, you know, I won't buy one, but I'll make my own. And that's when I first started making my bonsais. And they were smaller bronze pieces, but they developed into this piece that you see here. It's a kind of a nest bonsai, and with some fruit and stuff in it. So I made dozens of those. Having a show in Regina, and Susan Whitney was the curator of the show. And it was a brand new opening called the Kisa Gallery, which didn't last. But we were having a show, and we were all asked to bring some new pieces. It was fall. We were already canning, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make some real preserves. When you fire something in clay, it's well preserved. So I started making these jars of pickles, and I think I made gallons of pickles, of corn, of beets, beans, and I think red peppers. And they were a hit in the show. You know, people just snapped them up, and then the people who bought the gallon of cucumbers wanted to buy the corn as well. And I figured, you know, there's something interesting here, you know, maybe I've got something going here, which will be like a print series, where you do an edition, and I've been doing it since '74. I still do it, and I have people who've built 3 pantries on their own. Every year they phone me, is there a new jar? Is there a new jar? And it's always like Christmas for me, because I come up with a new idea and I fire it and it works really well. And then I've got all these people who are interested.
work of Saskatchewan artist Joe Fafard is in the spotlight at the Art Gallery of Swift Current. And in this report, we bring you some of the highlights of his latest exhibition. The Art Gallery of Swift Current showcases a number of exhibitions throughout the year. And the latest shines the spotlight on Saskatchewan artist Joe Fafard. The world-renowned artist has created another unique exhibition with Rutai, featuring laser-cut welded metal sculptures, along with embossed and woodcut prints of his famous animal figures.
The main connection between one piece and the other is that they're all the product of some laser cut. So some of the pieces are deliberately drawn laser cut pieces, but most of them are made up of all the leftovers from doing other works. But I had all these pieces left over, and I didn't know what I would do with them, but eventually the idea came to me to take all the leftover pieces and recycle them into new pieces by welding them together. And those leftover pieces in French are called retaille. That's the name of the show. That's why it's called retaille.
And along with the precise detail put into his work is the naming of each piece.
Calgary Stampede wanted to give to the Quebec Festival a sculpture to commemorate the city's 400th anniversary. So what I proposed is these 8 running horses running out, and we selected a site along the St. Lawrence River, along the Champlain Boulevard, between the boulevard and the river, so that from the boulevard you'd be looking against the St. Lawrence and seeing these running horses, which are there now, and they're much larger than these. This was harmonious, you know, and I thought, well, I'll just call these pieces Do, Re, Mi, like the music scales, you know, so, and starting with Do and ending with Do.
A one-of-a-kind exhibition, which Art Gallery curator Kim Hao-Tailing explains, is set up in a particular fashion to attract the eye of patrons, a process which he shared with these students from Waldeck School.
When you draw a line and that follows the edge of something you're looking at, okay, when it comes back and encloses, which means you go all the way around and the line meets itself again, the moment that line encloses, your eye sees the interior. The space that's enclosed in that line sees it as if it was a solid plane. But we also know that we can see right through it. So there's kind of simultaneously 2 experiences that you can kind of role reverse. And even though it happens automatically for everyone to see this illusion occur and interpret it and accept it, they're not necessarily aware of it. So when I pointed at it, was able to point it out in examples with this show.
And along with the unique lines of each piece, patrons are also being drawn into the exhibition by how it's actually on display. A good use of space within the gallery, which is pleasing to artist Joe Fafard.
Well, as you come into the show, you see a great number of pieces that all seem to be going in one direction, like a big sweep, like almost a stampede of things. And I had never thought of doing it quite like that. But he's chosen the pieces that fit that narrative really well.
Retie by Joe Fafard is on exhibit at the Art Gallery of Swift Current through October 28th. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.